All right, welcome to another episode of ConunDRUM podcast. This week, my guest is Randy Ross. Now, a note to all you drummers out there: remember his name. He is the new product development guy over at SABIAN Cymbals. So he's working under Mark Love, and yes, the sound guru of Sabian, Mark Love. Randy's also a phenomenal drummer. He plays with the band Stinking Rich, and he's got a few other projects in the works. The Stinking Rich is a funk, blues, rock and roll, super cool vibe. Great players, and he also did all the engineering and recording for the band. And that's all self taught. So we dive into how he got into that and his start in music and the Fredericton music scene. We also and being a teacher in drumming, and then how the pandemic has kind of messed all that up for everybody. We geek out a little bit on drum gear. He's a fellow Los Cabos drumstick artist. So we cover the gamut. It was a ton of fun. I hope you all enjoy the conversation with Randy Ross.
Hey, Dre.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not a lot. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Right on. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Volumes are, I find Zoom kind of I don't know what the right term is. It
Compresses audio.
Yeah.
It does some kind of weird balancing thing in the background. I used it at my previous job, and it was pretty decent at gathering stuff for the most part. Once in a while, you get someone that would type on their keyboard and be using their onboard microphone, and it would just be a nightmare because all you'd hear, it would compress the keyboard hit, and then they would be super quiet, and it would stay that way for about 5 seconds, and then go boom and be loud as hell. But well, thanks for inviting me, by the way.
Oh, thanks for agreeing.
Oh, no problem, man. No problem.
Yeah, like I know there's a few people that I have that I plan on asking that I've never met in person, and that's kind of the whole point of doing this podcast.
Right on.
It was just over a year ago I kind of had the idea because of COVID and not being able to play gigs to since we don't have those in between setups and after the show hangs, like, to get to know people.
Exactly.
It's a huge void in the community, and I like talking to people, and I like getting to know more about them, and everybody and their dog has a podcast now, so
good on you, man. That's awesome. The after gig and in between set hangs are one of the best things ever, and I really miss it, man.
Yeah.
I've met so many great people. I mean, I haven't traveled a long ways, but played a lot of shows around Fredericton and stuff, and got to know that gang pretty well over the years. And
yeah, I've played a few times in Fredericton. Being in Miramichi, there's not a lot of places to play original music. It's mostly a cover band scene, and I mean, bars have to pay the bottom line, and I get that whole part of the industry, if you will. But at the same time, like, original bands need a place to play, and the format is to do it with multiple bands because everybody has like a half hour, 45-minute set. So unless you're the party bands playing 4 hours, you're not going to get the full gig. So
we the previous band I was in, Morohubu, we had to kind of play the act. We had our original set, and then we had 2 sets of covers that we reworked to fit the motif of the band. But it was essentially the same kind of thing. Like, if we wanted to play like the Cap, we would just pare it down to our original stuff, play our 45, maybe an hour at most.
Yeah.
And then we get invited to go play like a local bar around Woodstock, Heartland area, Florenceville, and we'd have to dig out the two cover sets to fill out the time. Yeah, it's a necessary evil. I mean, there's a lot to be learned from working through a lot of covers, but at the same time, it can get kind of old after you've done it for a few years, as you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You burn out. You burn out after a while playing the same 30 songs that everyone else is playing too, right? Because that's all the crowd wants to hear when they go to those bars. They want the jukebox experience, not anything creative. That's what's so great about Moncton's got a really nice scene for that, from my experience there, and Fredericton is outstanding. Like, it's what Zach did with the Cap is just amazing. I mean, it was amazing beforehand, but his leadership there now has really shoved that forward. It's amazing to go down there and see some of those acts, man. It's just awesome. And Grim Ross, Eddie Young, Living Roots is another one that just keeps pushing the envelope very hard, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, which is great. And I mean, New Brunswick has a plethora of amazing original talent.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so many singer songwriters, so many great bands. Like and that it's across the genres. Like you go from roots blues all the way through rock, folk, punk, rap, like it metal. It's all over the place.
Yeah, it seems to be not a genre specific area. And the other thing I always told people, like around here especially, there's a lot of musicians, I think because there was never anything to do.
Mhm.
Like, you're stuck at home, you got your video game system or whatever that you're going to play, you got some schoolwork or your day job that you're doing, but then we don't have all the distractions of a big city like Toronto or whatever, so you got that time to focus on it, and it's a good time to hang out with your friends too, right? It's a great excuse to
Yeah,
get four dudes in the basement or
yeah,
whatever. I don't mean to be dude specific, but that's what I am. So I guess I'll talk dude
yeah,
specific.
yeah.
I don't
Dudes,
I don't like to alienate the other side, but at the
no,
same
dudes,
time,
dudes covers everything. Dudes covers
yeah, yeah,
everything. Yeah,
yeah, right on. Okay, I like that. That it's I like it. It's a non-specific term.
it's a non-binary term. Yeah,
Right on. I'm with you. Right
yeah.
on.
Um, so I mean, this whole thing, like with getting to know people, part of the podcast, like I'm sure you're aware, I'm going to ask you the same tried and true questions of, like, so where did it all start for you? Like, so where are you from originally? Um,
So yeah, I'm originally from the Heartland area. That's where I was born. I was born in Woodstock, but my parents lived in Heartland. It wasn't very long after that, my mom and dad split, and I ended up before school started in Quebec, just out behind Woodstock, basically.
okay.
And from grade 1 through to grade 12, that's where I existed. And I lived on a dirt road out in the middle of nowhere, and I had no real close friends because I just moved there just before school started. I had a few friends in school, but nothing like, the local kids were all like, they grew up together. They played in each other's yards, and I wasn't one of
Yeah.
those kids because I moved in late. So in grade 6, I got introduced. They had an announcement on the school PA system that band tryouts were happening, and I went to try out for band.
Okay.
And I wanted to play a horn and was immediately failure at that, at the even the beginner test of like, can you hold this thing? And I didn't well. So
Horn is hard, man. Any of those
oh
horned
man,
instruments are hard.
nothing but respect for those people, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's an insane instrument. So the music instructor at the school at the time handed me a set of drumsticks, and immediately I apparently held them properly, accidentally.
Okay.
And then he gave me the stack of 3 main books that everyone gets introduced to at that point, and a Remo practice pad, and away I went.
Okay.
And played in stage band through grade 6. In grade 7, at the end of the year, he gave me the school drum kit to take home for the summer, which was super awesome.
Wow.
He was very generous that way, and I looked after the kit and made sure that I kept the upkeep on it and stuff. I
Mhm.
mean, you're grade 7, you're not really the smartest, but I knew what I had
Yeah.
and what I
Yeah.
didn't have, what I didn't own. And then my mom and I worked together to get myself a drum kit the start of grade 8, and then it's been a insanity ever since. I played a little guitar in between. I still fuddle around on it, but I wouldn't call myself a guitar player, especially after playing with guitar players. I am not one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have the chops. I
Yeah.
didn't put the
Same.
time in, my 10,000 hours aren't there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Strum a few chords around a campfire. That's about it. Like, and
yeah,
even then I'm looking at the hands of the other person playing along too. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I did a few years ago dive into bass a bit more. And I went to the Woodstock High School has a music educator there, Will Davidson, who's just amazing.
Yeah.
And Will gave me some private lessons and taught me theory. And it's become more useful in the recording situation and writing situation with all my bands that I've played in than anything I've ever learned drum wise. I mean, knowing how to play drums helps, obviously, but when the conversation starts, like, well, that chord doesn't fit, I can immediately jump in and like, oh, well, you're playing, the third's flat, you're supposed to be a major, so move your third up one fret or one key on your keyboard. And I've gone full theory nerd and
Okay. Because you've
whatnot that
lost
way.
me.
Yeah, yeah. I do that. I do that. I mean, I do a lot of recording engineering. I do a lot of live sound engineering as well. I'm kind of one of the local guys. I mean, the local music store, MES Music, Dean Weeks, kind of took me under his wing way back when and kind of taught me live sound. And
Okay.
I just kept pushing in that regard. And then gradually, as home recording became a thing, I started getting really into that. And I recorded my first independent album in 2002. We used an ADAT system, but then bounced ADAT to PC and mixed it on PC, and that was a nightmare. And then I did the second one in 2005, and then I've been doing almost an album a year ever since with
Really?
somebody.
What's okay?
And I mean, it may not be me playing drums, but I've engineered or mixed or whatever, or
Right.
captured or whatever. Um, and I don't have what I would call the best hardware, but I've learned to use what I have. And then when I do get access to the good stuff, I understand why it's the good stuff,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it
yeah.
just makes the job that much easier. I still, when I make a mix, it still sounds like something I would mix, but you know,
Yeah, well, I mean,
regardless,
mixing is just like an instrument. Like like
it
there's a
really
reason
is.
why certain guys get certain jobs, because they just speak that language and it comes through, right?
Yep.
So it's just like playing any other instrument. It's just a medium in
Yep.
which to do it.
The
Yeah.
studio and the DAW has become an instrument for a lot of people, specifically like in the
Mhm.
electronic market. But yeah, anything like when you get into mixing and editing and whatever, and I don't like to edit a lot. I like to keep things as real as possible. Um, but yeah, that's one of the spots that I spent a lot of time focusing, which fueled my playing so that I could have more stuff to mix and
Right.
on and on and on. So, and
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a computer nerd. I worked in IT for over 20 years, and that kind of fueled that side of it too. It actually started because I got into computers because someone said you can record on these, and I was like, what? Okay, I'm in. And then gradually my love or push for it ended up making me an IT guy.
Okay.
Uh, Became a database administrator, and then I managed a support team at an ISP, and it's been a wild ride, man. All because
Yeah,
of
yeah,
music. All
yeah.
because of music. It's
Really.
crazy,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
So the audio engineering stuff, like you didn't go specifically to school, but you kind of fell
Nope.
under somebody
Yep.
who had that background. And I mean, that's just as invaluable. I mean, just not having the piece of paper doesn't mean a whole lot
Exactly.
these days, right?
Yeah. The guy Dean Weeks, MES Music, handled Dooryard Arts Festival for the first 8 years that it happened in Woodstock, which got bigger and bigger as it went. And by the third or fourth year, he threw me two or three of the four nights and gave me front of house,
Wow.
and it was sink or swim. And so
Yeah.
I learned very quickly that mixing a bluegrass band is not as easy as you would think.
No,
That's
well, I mean,
a
those
hard gig to
instruments
mix,
are,
man. I'm telling you,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
probably my biggest learning experience was mixing bluegrass. I got to mix a lot of friends and good bands. Got to mix the Motor League. That was a fun night.
Hmm.
Uh, I've known Don for years, but to get to mix him as the Motor League, after a couple big releases and stuff, that was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Kill Chicago out of Fredericton, Zach
Yep.
and
Know all those
Greg and
guys.
those guys. Yep,
Yep.
yeah, I got to mix those guys a few times, and you know, the list goes on and on. You can go look at the Dooryard, basically the backlog of the last 8 years, and I had a hand in there somewhere, either mixing monitors or mixing front of house or whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
I learned a fair amount there, and then did a lot of recording in between, and I also do like a lot of local shows to help people out or whatever. I'll get the call from the local cover band, hey, can you come in and rough in our mix at the bar at 6 o'clock? And you don't have to stay, just come in and hands on faders while we play a couple tunes, and I'll
Yeah.
rough it in as close as I can and just warn them, don't adjust volumes, you'll be fine. You
Yeah.
reach back to your guitar amp and give it another three notches, you're going to be paying for it because it's going to sound like crap out front. But
Yeah.
you know,
So do
that's
you get
that's
any calls like to do any of the festivals like Harvest or anything like that?
we've played Harvest, and I've helped a couple times with some very minor back end stuff with
Okay.
Harvest. I did some minor support work for Mike Jones a couple times of Signature Sound.
Okay.
Um, I've, I know Mike quite well through Dean. They know each other really well. I've done some work Hullabaloo side as well with that gang up there.
That's a
So
fantastic festival.
you're damn right. That's probably my favorite one of all the ones I've played. As
Same.
far as a musician, it's dreamy to go
Same.
up
Yep.
there. Pearl and everybody that's there, just make sure that the musicians are super well looked after,
Oh
and
yeah.
they always book the best talent, because you get walking around backstage and talking to people, and everyone's just so chill and so nice and easy to get along with. So
Yep. First
yeah.
year, I played there twice with Terry Whalen Band.
Oh,
The first
Terry, yeah,
year, yeah, the first year I played there, we actually stayed at Adelaide's house.
right on.
Yeah. So there was us. I think we were the only band there, and then a couple other people that were close knit within our community. Yeah, we stayed at her house. I crashed on her couch. And then the second year, there was a couple of houses that were being built or that were not quite ready. they were show ready, but so we stayed in a I guess we squatted in a house. But yeah, so I mean, like, yeah, meeting people there. Like I met the divorcees there. That's where I met Kevin. And the first year we were there, I met Ben Kaplan,
Yep.
the
Yep.
chain smokers. They are not chain smokers. The chain smoking. Fuck, I can't remember the name now.
Yeah, I
It's been
know.
so long, but yeah,
I
yeah,
mixed Ben at Dooryard once. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, fantastic. I mean, just my mind was blown because it was like the first year that I was there. I'd never even really heard of the festival until I played it. And I just blew my mind, like the level of
Yeah.
talent that was at that festival both years.
It's amazing. What years did you play, if you don't mind me asking?
Uh 04 and 05.
Okay,
No,
right on.
no, 14 and 15. Yeah.
Oh, 14 and 15.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Try to think. I did meet you. I met you at 15.
Did you?
Yeah, we
Who were you
played.
playing with?
I'm more Huber. We played an afternoon set. We closed the afternoon, and then you
Okay.
guys played like second or third that evening.
Yeah, I think we played just before the divorcees.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. We were there. We watched your set and whatnot.
Okay.
Terry's a super talent guy. He's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time playing in that band. Like for me, coming from my background, like with punk rock and everything being just so fast and aggressive, to like sit back in the kit and just play like a blues song, like the 12 bar blues, and just kind of lay back and kind of lay into the pocket. It was such a different experience. I wouldn't trade
So
it. It was a lot of fun.
I always tell people I play in the East Coast division of the hockey fight when it's in town.
I was going to
BJ
ask you
down.
about that actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
BJ is from Heartland. BJ and I've been friends for years and years and years. So anyway, I've done a few gigs with the hockey fight, probably 10, 15, 20, whatever it is now. And playing punk, I mean, that's close to my hard rock roots that I came from. So it came to me fairly quickly, and I got it. Then after a few years playing hockey fight and hard rock stuff, we moved into the funk realm, and
Mhm.
you get down into 90 beat a minute shuffly sounding stuff. I'm telling you, it's a lot harder to play slow than it is to play fast, in my opinion,
It
and to
really
keep
is.
and to keep your dynamics in check, right?
Yeah,
Like
it
you
really
don't
is.
always want that cracking loud rim shot sound. You got to keep it just that center of the snare,
Mhm.
tip of the stick, no hoop kind of thing.
Yeah.
I learned a whole pile of stuff. And
Yeah.
then
Same
you
here.
go back and look at all the people that were, around you when you were, watching videos on YouTube and stuff, and see the JoJos and the Benny Grubbs and the whoever, and you realize the skill level they have when you dig further into that realm of
Yeah.
just dynamic control pocket, you know,
Thomas
the
Lang's another one.
Thomas Lang's another insane,
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Even if you go back and revisit stuff like, early Tool, Danny Carey, whatever, you start to hear stuff there that's you didn't recognize because you were too focused on the loud accents. You weren't hearing the in-between stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it
I
starts
mean,
to unfold for you.
it might sound, surprising to some to think of him in that way, but Dave Lombardo from Slayer, like you listen to some of that
Absolutely.
stuff and you're just like, the guy's got such a strong groove and pocket. Like even in the Slayer songs, you can hear that kind of influence.
Absolutely. When
Yeah.
he played on, I can't remember which Helmet album it was. He did a Helmet album in the early 2000s, and it was fan friggin' tastic.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm a Stanier fan by heart, and it's hard to swallow someone else taking that
Yeah.
chair.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that dude fit it so well. He did
Yeah.
it such a great job with Helmet. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So going back to like musical background,
Yeah,
so you started in like seventh and eighth grade. Was it, do you come from like a musical family? Like, was there
not at all.
any type of influence from there?
Not at all. It was just sheer desperation to want to do something where there were people and hang out and have fun. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember seeing in grade 4 or 5, one of the schools, I think it might have been Woodstock High School, come in and they brought their stage band and played. And I was amazed by that. Just the fact that all these kids were playing instruments and it sounded like music, right? Like
Mhm.
until that point, it was just what you saw on MTV or Much Music or whatever. And
Yeah.
that's all I knew that music was. I didn't think you could actually do it yourself because it was only the people on TV that were successful at
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah.
And then when you see people, even if they're playing Freddie the Freeloader, slightly out of key and wrong, it's still cool because it sounds pretty close. And it's like they're just kids and they're doing it.
Mhm.
So that is what really inspired me to start. And then yeah, I played through band until grade 10, and then grade 10 I started to get into I started playing with like the high school rocker band thing.
Yeah.
Where we were playing, Nirvana covers or Metallica covers or
Mhm.
AC/DC or whatever. And probably
Yeah.
not well. I'm sure it's terrible. Thank God that there was no cell phones and people, recording everything, because I'm sure it was horrible. But
Yeah, I'm on
it
tape
did it.
somewhere. My mom
Oh
has
yeah.
an old VHS from like some school talent show thing where we played. I come from a French school, so
Right.
at the time, I don't know if the rule is still there now, but at the time, if we played any English songs, we had to do them instrumental because they wouldn't allow us to have English lyrics, right? So we played Teen Spirit, Enter Sandman, Runaway Train, and without the lyric, like, dude, and you get lost, like, especially at that age, because the vocal cues are very important when you're learning how to play. And we were just all over the place, man. It was a mess. And my mom has that somewhere on a VHS, and I'll have to
that's how
burn
you
it.
learn.
Yeah.
That's how you learn, man. And I say I'm glad it's not out there for people to watch, but at the same time, it would be cool to go back and look and see where you started. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? To just realize, to give you that little boost of like, okay, I didn't waste all this time.
Yeah. Right. So when was the first time you played on like a stage, like actually with a band?
I think it was grade 10. I started to play a little bit then. Played, school parties, and I think we played a talent show or something at the high school. Just
Yeah.
the 200-300 people thing that didn't want to hear you but politely clapped afterwards, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Oh,
Uh,
it's really good. Yeah.
yeah. And then it was probably, I think, the year after high school, I got into my first, what I would call, original band that wrote and recorded and
Mhm.
everything. We called ourselves Thanksgiving. I still don't know why, but anyway, a friend of ours went to a recording college and was doing his practicum at Real North in Fredericton.
Mhm.
And part of his practicum was to record a band, to do a 3-song demo from end to end, including mix. So we went down and did that as part of his practicum, which was a cool
Yeah.
experience to be in. That was, yeah, two 24-track tape machines and a big board. And I'm too young to remember what it was and too stupid to know.
Mhm.
I remember the racks full of distressors. That one stood out to me. I remember reading distressor. They had like the bass going through a distressor and the kick and the snare going through distressor compressors and stuff. And I still have a copy of that recording somewhere, and it's still one of those ones, like, for what we did, that's pretty damn cool that happened.
Yeah.
And that was the real bug that bit me with recording. That was
And that
like
was in high
90.
school or just after
Yeah,
high school?
just after high school, like probably 96, 97, 98, somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly what year it
Yeah.
was,
Okay.
but
So we're the same age. Yeah.
oh, right on,
Yeah. I technically graduated in 96.
right on, right
Yeah.
on.
So yeah.
I'm 3 years younger than you, but yeah,
Oh, okay. All
yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah. I'm a 93 kid. Yeah.
Okay. Um,
Tail end of Gen X, buddy. We're
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
We're holding down the fort, watching
Yeah.
the fires burn. But yeah,
Pretty much.
so yeah, we did that, and then I got into, let's see, it would have been very early 2000. Formed a band with a good friend, and it was called Monday Conspiracy, and we did an album, and we were all too hardcore into progressive rock, and that album is all chops and no feel, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it recorded terribly. We did a horrible job of that album, but it was all we knew how to do. We tried.
Mhm. It's a learning
Um,
experience.
yeah, and we lasted probably 2-3 years. We played a few shows, had some fun, toured around and stuff. And then I started into a band called, I'm trying to think what happened. It was Thanksgiving, Monday Conspiracy. Then we started Nosh. Nosh was a little bit more of a professional thing that we did. That was fun. We did a full album, and there's an EP floating out there on SoundCloud somewhere, and whatever. The EP is probably my favorite thing that we recorded in that rock kind of thing. It's just
Mhm.
groovy and fun. Um, Also along in there, the owner of the music store in town, Dean, invited me to come in and start teaching, and that really brought my drumming to a different level, because I was going back through the foundational things that I probably didn't spend as much time on as I should have,
Yep.
and teaching that other people. You've probably done that, and
Yep.
as you teach through, you realize, wait, my paradiddle's not as solid as it should be, or
It's a
my
very
doubles suck.
humbling experience.
You're damn right, especially when
Yeah.
some little 10-year-old kid comes in a week after you showed him something and kicks your ass at it. Then
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, now I must sit down tonight when I
Yeah.
get home and burn 3 hours trying to do
Yeah.
paradiddles
Yeah.
better or
That's when
whatever.
you say speed is not important.
Right,
It's
right, right.
making
Yeah,
it
yeah. We
even,
start
right?
we start making ourselves feel better about it. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
dynamics.
It's
It's all about how
dynamics.
you accent the
Yeah.
paradiddle. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Which is true, but at the same time,
Yes.
there's a little bit of your internal
Your egos,
internal egos, getting in the way, where you're like, oh, damn it, no, he made it to 160 beats a minute. No. So, so I started teaching. I taught right up until COVID. I think I counted up one time during the pandemic. Obviously, you sit back and think through, and I think I counted up over 240 students that I had over the period of 10 years, whatever it was. So it's pretty intense.
Yep, I was teaching up until COVID hit as well. I still get messages asking if and when, and
yep.
I just not to get into like the political thing and all that stuff, but I just wouldn't be able to live with myself if I were to be asymptomatic and pass it on and have something happen to somebody else's child, or like I just can't. I don't want to take that risk. It's not worth it.
I considered doing the online thing, and I was like, it's hard enough doing it in person.
Yep.
To take and add all the technical barriers to it, especially with a young kid trying to do it on an iPad or whatever their parents set up for them.
Sometimes they need to see you doing it. Like, you'll sit down behind the kid and show them, just a basic beat, and then the lights will go off, and then they'll be able to do it.
Yeah,
and they get it. Yeah. Just because there's different types of learning, right? So to be able to do it in a room where you can actually address each of those types of developmental types, I guess is the way to put it.
Exactly. So anyway, that went on. Played in Nosh for a few years. We did a few shows and whatnot, and toured around and played and had fun. And then a whole group of us, the local musicians, kind of went on a little bit of a weird hiatus. I don't know whether it was like that point in life. Like, we still played our instruments, but we weren't like chasing the dream or even show anxious or anything like that. We just sat around and hung out. And then a good friend of mine, Steve Hubbard, reached out to me and said, hey, we should get together and just jam. Just jam. That's all it's going to be. It's just a jam. Yeah. They always start as just a jam.
It always starts that way.
So anyway, we got together and we started playing like almost funky instrumental music. And none of us were, from that. It's not like we, focused on it for our entire lives, but it's just where we were in our listening at that point. And that was the start of Morahubu, which stands for Morris Ross Hubbard Bull. So that was the group of us four, and we started as instrumental, played instrumental funky stuff for probably 2 years, and then we started Andrew Bull is a great vocalist. So anyway, he started to write some stuff, and he was like, I could put vocals to this, and I'm like, that would be cool. And then that took us to a different level again, and that opened it up for us. And then Steve Hubbard decided he got offered to go to Toronto to play with a little more reputable of an act. I don't blame him. It's an opportunity to go for it.
Yeah.
And chase music as a profession or whatnot. So anyway, he departed the band, and we said, instead of keeping the name, because we put it name specific, Morris Ross Hubbard Bull, it would be weird to bring someone in to take the Hubbard spot. So
like Kiss does.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Put on the makeup. You're the guy now. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, you look just like him. It's perfect. So we anyway, we a friend of Steve's, actually, Scott McBride, moved back to Woodstock. He's an engineer. He moved back from Halifax, and we started Stinking Rich, and that's been kind of the pandemic project to keep our sanity ever since. Apart from when we go into full lockdowns, it's been fun, writing and recording. We played one show, and it was when they lifted all the restrictions on July 30th or June 30th, whatever it was. We played the last COVID show at the Capitol.
Okay.
It was weird. We went in, we followed all the protocols, all the rules. We packed up, loaded the car, got done at 11:30, and at 12 o'clock, we walked by Dolan's, and it's just like it was 1999 all over again. No mask, no distancing. Everyone was dancing. It was like surreal. It was surreal to see that.
Weird.
But that didn't last very long. And look at where we are.
So Stinking Rich is a new project.
Relatively new, I'd say it started 2 years ago.
Okay, because I know we're part of the New Brunswick Drummers Facebook group, and on the chat, and then people were posting their bands to check it out, and I saw your link for Stinking Rich, so I was checking it out. This was like months and months ago. And it doesn't sound like a new band. Like, there's a maturity to those songs. It seems like you guys have been a band for a long time. Like, is that just because of all your backgrounds that come together? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean, Andrew, the singer, and myself, we've worked together. He was in Monday Conspiracy. He was in Nosh. He was in, right. So Andrew and I have that chemistry from history of working together. And then John, actually, the keyboard player, is a I mean, he's an IT guy, but he's also a recording nerd like I am. And he used to record back before I even had gear. I remember going to his place and he was recording Matt Anderson. They were good friends and
Okay.
doing stuff like that. So John's a fairly skilled recording engineer and a really good keyboard player and just a mature player. Like he knows not to step on toes and whatnot. So, and Scott is a great guitar player, but he's always been the, the guy in the closet in the bedroom hiding out because he chased engineering, and good for him because it's been a very good career for him. But we were like, dude, you're good enough. Come play. Let's do this. Let's get rolling. And he's really stepped up to the plate. Like he's fantastic, and he's pushing himself really hard to stay in that pocket in the groove and learning the rules of, don't play over the vocal and don't steal the melody. Again, not to say there's hard and fast rules per se, but there's certain things that work really well and certain things that don't, right? Like you say, it's a maturity thing that you learn as you play what you should or shouldn't do.
Yeah, and it's what you hear too. Like if you're listening, if you're playing a certain genre, you hear those other bands that are in that ballpark, so you kind of know when to pick your spots. Just in not saying that imitation, but just knowledge, right?
Yeah, exercise your influences is what I always used to say. Yeah. If you want to do that cool drum fill there, like Neil Peart would, then go for it. You know what I mean? Like,
well, speaking of influences, on that particular project, like I told you, like as soon as I heard the first song, I sent you a message. I'm like, dude, that's like total Steve Jordan.
Yeah, I've been accused of ripping him off lately. Sorry.
No,
I take it as a compliment.
It's a high compliment because
thank you very much. Because I mean, I went from I was a huge Metallica fan in like grade 8, 9, and
as
then
we
that
all
gradually
were,
and then that gradually transitioned to a combination of Stanier from Helmet and Danny Carey from Tool. That was a big thing for me for a few years. And then I realized that those guys are those guys and I'll never be those guys. And, as cool as it is to play that style, it's a little alienating to a lot of listeners. You put all the work, you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. Your friends from work or your coworkers show up to your show and then you're playing in your punk band and they're into, pop music. They're just, they last a couple songs, say that was great, and they kind of sneak out the back door. And not to say that I'm playing for other people, but at the same time I like to have a good time and I like to whatever. So when we kind of stumbled onto the funky, rocky, whatever, dancey stuff, whatever, it just kind of clicked because we enjoyed it too, right? And it's got the groove and it's got the feel, but it also is inviting to other people that aren't necessarily music nerds or whatever to get into it. So so man, thanks. The Steve Jordan compliment is huge. I mean, that guy's a monster and a hell of a producer too. Like on the recording front, I wish I had his skills.
Did you ever listen to his album that he did with the DJ from the Beastie Boys? His name's escaping me. Mike D, I think it is.
Yeah, Mike D. Yeah.
Odyssey 2000.
Yeah, it was killer. Just killer, man. Oh, he's so good. And I mean, I'm John Mayer trio. I just, man, you get Steve Jordan and Pino Palladino. How can anything go wrong?
And I mean, a lot of people shit on John Mayer, but the dude can play.
Dude's got it. He knows who he is, and he's figured it out. And he's an undeniable powerhouse on guitar. There's just no. I say what you will about his personality, but that's not what I'm listening to when I listen to his tunes. The new album has a couple tracks that I really dig. The rest of it's kind of like whatever. But
I haven't listened to it yet.
Most of his albums are kind of that way for me, so it's like I can just go through and pick out the stuff that I really really dig, and then the trio EP Try is probably the high watermark for me for him. But it's because of that rhythm section, right?
Exactly. Like I could listen to the trio like if that's all they did, that I'm fine with that.
Exactly. Yeah. So but that was also like the gateway drug where you realize, oh, there's more to this guy than just your body's a wonderland. But then when you start digging into stuff, you can hear a bit of that trio vibe in some of it. I won't say all of it, but some of it. You can dig through and find some pretty decent stuff there. But so that's kind of where that all ended up. I also play in a couple of other local bands here that are yet to release anything major, but we play and record, and it keeps my chops up and whatnot. So, and I've bounced around, played some punk, I've played hard rock, and I played Moment of Inertia for 4 or 5 years, and I'm in a new project with Pete Lockhart now. called After the Wreck, and that's fun, even though we've never actually played in the same room yet.
Yeah.
He just sends me tracks to a click, and I bang out a drum idea and send it back, and we just play playing ping pong on the internet with a recording file.
Yeah.
But
Were you playing with Moment of Inertia at the Capitol the night that I played there with what we were called the DiBiase's at the time, and
yes,
Kendra Gale Band?
yes,
Okay,
I
yeah,
was
that was at
there.
the Capitol. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching you guys' set, and I was like, "Fuck, the dude's a monster behind the kit." Like, so
The
like,
scary thing is the singer of that band is the bigger monster behind a kit. Pat
really?
Pelche. Pat Pelche is undeniably an insane drummer, and that
Yeah.
was the most intimidating tryout or whatever you want to call it I've ever had for a band. I got the call from Pete to come try out for a Moment of Inertia, thinking that Pat had left, and Pat just wanted to transition to vocals. So I get to the rehearsal space and Pat's standing there, and I'm like scared of the guy. He's like the drummer from Fredericton, like the guy was for years. Between him and Carl, they were the two guys in Fredericton that you just knew were the god level. And I walk in, I was like, I thought you guys were looking for a drummer. And Pat's like, yeah, we are. I want to sing. So he
Fuck.
calls off one of the songs that I was supposed to have ready, which I thought I did, and I sit down and start playing. And I remember turning around, he's going, good stuff, but you're missing a couple of the ghost notes. And comes back and sits down and just schools me on the kit.
Fuck.
It shows me what I was missing because he wrote the part, and I was like, okay, I got it. Tried it for a couple seconds, got it in my head, like understood what I'd missed, and then we tried it again, and he turns around and goes, well, you got my vote, man. I was like, okay, well, thank you. And
Shit.
then to hear him talk to other people and say, oh, Randy's a great drummer, blah 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 blah, I was just like, oh my god, no. Pat, stop. You're just
Yeah.
being nice at this point. But
Look,
yeah,
sounds
Pat,
really good.
yeah, you're doing great, buddy.
You're doing great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Pat was quite a big influence through my 30s of learning like how his material and playing in a band, then writing with him as well. Like he would always push for the next thing. Like I would get a part down, he'd like, that's cool. It would really be cool if you did this, and it would just push me, like it'd be like something that you never tried doing before. It's like, oh, you want me to play a dotted eighth note on the ride bell over top of this groove? Okay, leave that with me for a night and I'll get back to you. And then it's back to the woodshed you go, and you know, suffer the beatings. But yeah, it was a lot of fun playing in that band. It's just a matter of time, energy, distance. Me being in Heartland and being in Fredericton, it just didn't work out for a permanent
So that's
thing.
not a thing anymore?
They're playing, I think, well, pre-COVID, we're playing up till COVID, but I had to back out and whatnot. And then Pete contacted me for this project that we're working on now. Is more of a let's just take it easy and do something fun and no pressure kind of thing. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm always up to track drums, man. Like, bring it on.
Yeah. So what style of music is that project?
It's kind of folky rock, I guess. It's got a little bit of I'll bounce you a link after the call here, and that way you can check it out. You can categorize it.
I can categorize it. I hate categorizing and I hate asking that question,
but we have to because you need to have some
point of reference.
Point of reference to be able to absorb it or understand what's going on.
Yeah.
By the way,
you
you're
also
sporting a killer.
Sorry,
Go
ahead.
By the way, you're sporting a killer hat and a killer coffee mug.
Oh yeah. I think I have the
part of the
on,
LCD fam, right?
Yeah, Los Cabos. Yeah, I think I'm rocking the t-shirt too. I didn't want to make it too obvious.
I should be repping and I'm not. I feel terrible.
No.
I guess maybe I'm repping one logo here that everyone seems to have a hate on for a couple of years ago.
You know what? I absolutely love that new logo.
I'm good with it. It never bothered me. I know I don't base a product off its logo anyway. So
same, but like I found that the old logo was just that it felt dated.
Yeah.
And with the rebrand, it brought it into the current millennium. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It was a great decision to do, and the timing was right, and especially with the new line of cymbals that came with it. Like, I'm not a Sabian artist. I don't represent any cymbal artists, but I use Zildjian now because my wife got me a 23-inch Zildjian Sweet Ride for Christmas, I think. And I'm the type of guy that has to have everything the same on my kit, like all the same type of heads, all the same, like, so I had to go full Zildjian. So now I'm full Zildjian cymbals. I shouldn't be telling you this.
That's fine. It's fine. It's all good.
Given your job title now, which is, I wanted to get into that. So how did you fall into, or not fall into, but how did that?
Well, it was kind of that. That was kind of that. I've been
Or
in
you
IT for years.
should tell what is your actual job title?
I'm working underneath Mark Love, studying production or product development, so designing cymbals. Mark isn't a child anymore, so at some point, Mark will probably want to retire, and that's a long, long ways down the road.
Mhm.
But the amount of knowledge that he has to transfer to somebody is a lot of years to learn. So
Mhm.
that's kind of what Sabian is doing, is preparing for that inevitable transition.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'll be ultimately the guy, but right now I'm the guy that Mark is teaching. So
Okay.
I'm learning gradually and trying to wrap my head around a lot of things. I'm a month and 1 day in kind of thing right now,
Yeah.
so it's really fresh and really new.
Mhm.
And coming out of a 20-year career in information technology, it's a complete and utter change now. I did work in manufacturing before going into IT, so I'm not completely ignorant to that logistic. Um, but the concept of what they do is very specialized, as we all know. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's not an easy thing, and to come up with ideas and designs is it's there's a thing there, and to have your finger on the pulse of what the drum community's into,
Mhm.
that's a challenge, I think, is how I would word it. Um, the company has done very well at that, by the way. uh,
Yes. I'd say they're probably number one at that.
yeah, they're very good at. And I almost want to, I might be speaking at a school here, but it almost feels like they set the trend as opposed to follow it, and
Yeah.
to a certain degree, where they do something and then the market kind of follows them to a degree, if
Mhm.
it works. And we're not all, no one's ever perfect all the time. So that they've definitely released some products that didn't work. They've put some things out that didn't land well, but they've
Yeah.
also put out a lot of stuff that did. I mean, HHX Complex is a fine example of like a home run. Like, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable how successful that product is, and
That
I get why,
yeah.
but
That's a
yeah,
symbol lineup that like at the drop of a hat, I would swap everything that I have for those.
to go to Complex, but
Yeah.
that's an expensive proposition.
Yes, it is. Yeah. I mean, well,
So
I can't say that's the only one, but like, because I know like the new line of AAX as well
yeah,
are that, and they're more affordable. Just giving the manufacturing the technologies that are used to make those symbols.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, like those two lineups within that brand, I would easily swap what I'm using now.
yeah. So anyway, I my first drum kit that my mom and I bought through a guy named Peter Stairs, and Peter is the VP of European, or sorry, non-North American sales at Sabian. When Sabian started moving in this new direction, of preparing for the inevitable, so to speak,
Mhm.
Peter called me and said, "Hey, I can't guarantee anything, but get me a resume together. You've got all my check boxes that I would look for someone for this job." So I did up a quick resume and fired it off to Peter and was like, "That will never happen. There's no way. Or if it does, it's going to be too low of a salary for what I require to pay my bills. I've got three
Yeah. Right.
kids,
Hmm.
house. I'm an adult. I'm not a kid anymore."
Hmm.
Anyway, my bluff got called on all fronts. I went in for a couple of interviews and hangouts with Mark and did a tour of the vault. He kind of tested me a bit without me realizing it, and seeing what I liked and what I didn't like, and seeing if I could describe something even though I didn't like it. And,
Right.
kind of, "Oh, here's a ride cymbal." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a bit thick and heavy for me." And he's like, "Yeah, so if you were to try to sell this in a music store, how would you do it?" Okay, well, so I started doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, if you are this type of drummer, this would be a desirable symbol because blah, 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 blah,
Right.
blah. And anyway, apparently I did everything right, and now I'm there, and it's awesome. It really is an awesome place to be. It's a super hard job. Um, like I said, and the thing that's hard for me is, I mean, Mark's got 41 years of building cymbals. He knows every last thing of, like, oh, well, if we raise the profile by this little bit, the pitch will come up and the sustain will drop, and what all the different bell sizes can do,
Hmm.
what thicknesses, what laving patterns. Like, it's insane. It's insane how many different variables there are into making something that looks so simple as a symbol, and how dramatic it can change from such a small amount of movement. But yeah, so I've that's been basically the last month for me, is just studying all those aspects of, like, bell sizes and thicknesses and laving patterns and hammering patterns. And I spent a lot of time out in the vault with the boys testing cymbals as they come through to see how the variables play into it and what can affect a cymbal to be bad, what they wouldn't allow to go through, and what the challenges are for manufacturing when if you roll a blank too thick, the lather has to lathe too hard, and if they lathe too hard, they change the profile. If you lathe it or roll it too thin, they can't get enough of the oxide off, and there's so
there's
many
so much.
aspects.
Yeah.
It's just
I took a
endless.
tour of the factory. I want to say close to 10 years ago with my son.
Right on.
So just going through and seeing all of that, all the processes is, I think every drummer should go to the factory and
Yeah,
check it out. Yeah, it's
absolutely.
a very cool spot.
If we could just get through this COVID thing, that
Yeah.
would be a thing that we
Yeah,
could
I'm
do, man.
guessing tours aren't a thing right now.
No, we're not permitted to let visitors in per se.
Yeah.
I think we've had one artist in since I've been there, and that was the first one since the pandemic started, and it was a just by chance thing. And they had to, double vaxxed and
Yeah.
a recent COVID negative test, and there was a lot to
Samantha
it. It was,
Landa?
what's that?
Was it Samantha Landa?
No, actually, it was Robbie Crowell. It plays
Okay.
for
So I thought I saw
Midland.
her. I thought I saw a picture of her recently on her Instagram hammering a cymbal.
Oh, maybe I might be wrong, but I haven't seen her, but I know it was Robbie Crowell that we had through from Midland. He's country band. Interestingly, Robbie's originally from Fredericton.
Okay.
Then he went to St. FX, moved to Halifax, and from Halifax to Nashville, and been in Nashville for 11 years and got picked up by Midland. So nothing but playing with a band that has 120 million followers on Spotify, and
no big deal.
But he was a super chill guy, great to work with. So yeah, we cranked up a custom cymbal for him while he was there. He did a 20-inch Roctagon with the Diamondback jingles that you would see on Pure China.
Okay.
So we added 4 jingles and 4 rivets on each section of the octagon.
That's a monster.
It is definitely a sizzly beast.
Yeah.
And he's used it at gigs. He sent me pictures already of it from stage. It's like, oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I remember my brother had a Roctagon clock on his wall.
Oh, right on.
Yeah,
that's awesome. The Clocktagon.
The Clocktagon. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of those floating around the office. I seen one in the kitchen yesterday when I went in to get a cup of coffee. There's a Clocktagon up. So it needs the battery changed, but it's still
so
there.
I'm guessing being there for just over a month, you probably don't know the secret formula yet.
No.
That's a couple years away, I'm guessing.
I'm guessing
ever.
if ever. I'm not saying this because I know for sure, but I was insinuated to me that Mark doesn't know it either.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, there's only the family is from what I understand. So
I kind of asked him a question about it, and he goes, "Do you want to work in a foundry? Because that job sucks." And he said, "I never learned it for that reason." It was kind of funny because it's like, okay, I get you.
Gotcha.
I was like, yeah, okay, I'll take what we're doing right now. Thanks.
Yeah,
this is enough.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the new job, man.
Thank you.
That's fantastic opportunity. And
yeah, it's a lot to take in. I just hope I don't drop the ball. That's all.
I think you'll do fine.
We're working on some cool stuff, and I guess to reiterate why I would get it and someone else wouldn't or whatever, it was kind of explained to me by the COO, Mike Connell, was that I bring a lot more to the table. I mean, we look at Sabian and outside, you think of it as a big corporation, but it's really
not.
90 some people in Meductic making cymbals is what it is. So when it comes to a product launch, I have the ability to record, I can shoot video, I can edit. So there's going to be some of that involvement, at least from I suggest we do this, and maybe I'm not the one doing it, but at least I can talk through this is what I would like to see or what I think we should do to assist marketing with that push. There's also I'm a nerdy internet guy, so there's lots of technological stuff that I've kind of brought in already, that it's like, here, we should do this, we should be watching for these tags on all these social media sites, we should be driving for things and seeing what's going wrong, and we should be doing certain amount of extra stuff that Sabian hasn't done to this point, pertaining to potential customer, I won't call it backlash, but commentary on the internet, be a little more thumb on the pulse of what people are saying online.
Yeah, especially with the way that drummers are now, like the Instagram drummers, like the YouTube drummers. A lot of the big drumming stars now are from that medium.
Yeah, exactly. It's no longer your top 10 rock band guy that's
No.
the big attention getter. I mean, those people are still important. Don't get me
Yep.
wrong. I'm not saying they're not, but at the same time, your drum education stream is huge. And Sabian's definitely done a big push this year in the last 2 or 3 years, I guess, with the education side, with the Sabian Education Network and whatnot. And they're also put a big push this year on with band and orchestra school programs and whatnot. So that's really cool to see that stuff.
Yeah,
I'm telling
awesome.
you, man, little insider secret for all you drummers out there: if you're looking for the best crash cymbal, look for the stuff that they're using in band and orchestra. That's where the real stuff is.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the Viennese and the French cymbals and stuff, like 18s and 19s. Oh man, just like butter to the ears. They're amazing. Oh, they're so good. So we've been picking
They're
a
a
lot
thinner
of that.
cymbal, right?
Yeah, they would sit in the same range as like a HHX Explosion, kind of, if you think of that sound, but they're a little more so, even still.
Okay.
So that they're not as dark as a what I would consider to be a current crash now, by most companies. It's a little higher pitch, so it's almost in the AAX feel in that way, but it plays and sustains like an HHX Explosion kind of feel to it. So there's there's some really good stuff in there. I mean, they're not cheap either. It's not like you're going to get a deal there, but if you really want to hear something good, like check out the Viennese, the French crashes or the French cymbals. There's some orchestral ones too that are just absolutely beautiful. Although
would they be as durable playing with a stick?
Yep. Yeah. They're made pretty much the same way. It's just in the hammering pattern, lading patterns, whatnot, change up. But I mean, you want to talk about the cymbals that you would think aren't durable, is like if you ever hit an evolution crash, like an 18-inch evolution or 17, whatever it is. I grabbed one the other day, and I mean, I've seen them, but I've never played one. And they finally an oven of those come through the factory, and I got to help the boys with testing, and it was like, I can't believe that people are playing these with sticks and not destroying them, but they're so thin. There's so little material there. But Mark said that when they first started making them, that they actually set them on a stand and beat them with a full broom handle to try to break them, just to see as a durability test. He said like 4 of them stood around it with broom handles and beat the crap out of a cymbal, and it would not break. It might bend, it might dent, but it would not break.
Wow.
I was like, that's impressive. Okay, so
yep, sold.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a little bit of a redneck way of testing the durability, but hey,
Whatever
I'll give it to
works.
the boys. Look, swinging a broom handle from 5 feet back, that's got to do something.
The drumsticks that I use are pretty much a broomstick anyway.
What are you using? 2Bs?
Rock.
Oh, use the rocks. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I use the LCD Jazz Red Hickories. They're beefy enough. The weight of the Red Hickory really comes down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit of a nerd that way, so I check on all the specs, like the weights and stuff, and it's listed as being the same weight from a white hickory to a red hickory, but in my hand it does not feel the same. It doesn't feel that way. I don't know if it's just feeling the density versus from the white or the red, but I prefer the white hickory for the rock stick. Not to say I don't have any of the red hickory rocks, because I do, but my go-to is the white hickory rock right now. And I mean, I play in a punk band that is aggressive and loud, so I need that.
You need the cutting force. Yeah. I'm a massive LCD fan. I mean, I've been using their sticks since 2005, 2004, somewhere in that range. I've just been a fan ever since, and they're such nice people too. Everyone there, the whole family, Steph and
I'm a little
Phil.
later to the game than that, but
but man, but you came, and that's the important thing.
Yeah.
You came to the table. They're a killer company, and again, I'm very much support New Brunswick kind of guy. You know, it's where we live, and the fact when you see that there's salaries being pulled from those places, it's really good to support them all.
Yeah,
it's the same way I feel about Sabian. You know, I've had friends around me playing different brands, and it's, you know, not to be that guy, but it's like, you know, come on, Jimmy works the plant. You know, I want Jimmy to be able to come out and shoot pool with us on Friday night. You know, so keep buying cymbals. But anyway, and I'm not guilting you. I'm not guilting you.
No.
But at the same time,
I do want to switch. I have been keeping my eye on the Sabian lineups, and cymbals are an expensive investment.
Absolutely.
So to switch, and I'm like I said earlier, I'm the guy that it's all got to be under one umbrella. So I do want to make that transition. So maybe you and I can talk off camera about how I might be able to make that happen.
For sure.
So
should be able to at least help
figure
you
something
in deciding what to get.
Yeah,
if nothing
exactly.
else. And I can I can definitely give you a tour of everything that's available.
Yeah. So going back to your engineering background, that self-taught and all that. So
Yeah.
you did a lot of the mixing engineering for the Stinking Rich songs
Yeah.
that are available.
Not to brag and not to take anything away from the rest of the band members, but I did all the engineering and all the mixing. Although I will say Andrew would sit in toward the end of the mix and go, well, can you change this? Can you change that? Like any band member would, or any band would.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's me from end to end pretty much on
Okay.
what
Because
gear we have available.
it sounds amazing. It sounds
Well, thank
like
you.
pro recorded. Sounds like it's from a studio.
Thank you.
And I know like you've put all the songs out individually. Do you guys plan on making that into like an actual album version of it, or are you just doing the one by ones?
We've kind of talked about compiling it to an album. And we have about 8 more in the chamber ready to record.
That's good news.
And we keep writing more than we can get down. We kind of we did the first 5 or 6, whatever it is, that are out, and we kind of said, okay, we need to back away from this because we were starting to lose the first end of it. Because we were focusing so hard on the one song that we're going to record this week that we weren't practicing the 4 more that we recorded previously.
Right.
So we've kind of taken the last few months and just focused hard on just like, let's play this as a set. Let's get it tight. COVID may come to an end, or we may get the opportunity for another gig. Let's be gig ready. And then we figured that over the holidays, we're going to try to track two more, I'm thinking, is what we're going to try to aim for reasonably, for the time frame allotted. Pushing Up Daisies is the last one we put out. We did actually everything but vocals live off the floor, which was kind of a first for us to do that. We had never tried it before, and we were a bit nervous. I'm normally, give me a click and give me a scratch track, and I'll bang this out, and then everyone can stack in after me. But we had a groove going on, and we just worked through the engineering nightmare of getting everything separated enough that bleed wasn't an issue, so that we could achieve the mix desired. And then recorded it all, live off the floor. And it was really cool. And then we just punched in vocals after the fact. And I think we might have cut the solo and redid the solo, I think, the guitar solo in it. But that was about all. It was as real as we could do it, I guess is the way I would word it. So yeah, and that was a fun project. And we're gonna keep going. I don't know if we'll land on a full album or not. In this day and age, it's so hard to, to pick a path that way, because like nothing's physical release for us yet. We haven't even talked about that. Like it's just all, go to your favorite streaming service. DistroKid's a great service, by the way.
Yep.
Fully support.
Yeah, we use DistroKid. Yep.
Awesome service. So yeah, we put everything out over DistroKid, and it just goes everywhere, and everyone gets to check it out. And it's got legs of its own in an odd way. I mean, we're not millionaires. We're not making any money off it per se. But
that's usually not the reason for doing it either.
No. Look, this is our real passionate hobby, is the way I would word it. Some people are into quarter mile cars, and some people are into snowmobiles or Harley Davidson motorcycles or whatever. And ours just happens to be instruments and recording and writing songs and having fun. And once in a while, you get to go play a festival and have a couple cold beers with some friends and just enjoy an amazing evening that you otherwise wouldn't have. And we did Eddie got us a couple times into Harvest to play. We played the Cap, but it gave us a Harvest pass, and I'm telling you, that was life-changing. Literally being able to walk into a stage and just watch the act, without spending the $35, meant a lot. It meant a lot as a musician to have that access, and it definitely ups your game too when you walk in and see someone who is that amazing, and you go, okay, we can do this. We can push ourselves. Much like that experience I had in grade 5 or 4, seeing the stage band play the school. It's that all over again. It's just on a larger
different
scale.
level. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Like first time I played Harvest with Terry Whalen was at the, I think it was the Voodoo tent.
Right on.
So we had the pass, and then, so, the next day went and checked out, some of the bands and stuff. And then the next year, we got the residency at the Lunar Rogue.
Nice.
So did that for 2 years before I left the band. And then he carried on with that. I think he still has the residency during Harvest.
Yes, I believe he does.
The thing with having that residency though is you're playing every night, so you don't get to use the pass and go out and see you can go during the day, like some of the matinee shows and stuff, but you don't get to go and see the the headline acts because you're playing, right? So that was a little challenging.
Exactly. Yeah, we kind of lucked out. We got I think we got closing slot at the Capitol So like 11:30, 12 o'clock, 12:30, whatever it was, the 2 years that we played for Eddie. And it was, one was on a Friday and one was on a Saturday. So we got to watch everything but the big act of that night, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which sometimes I guess the artist pass doesn't always include.
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't always
Usually
include
doesn't have
the main headliner. So
No.
we didn't really miss much that evening. But I lived the last year we played was the year that they gave Stephen Lewis the barracks tent. The big party fun or big fun party that he put on, and it was just all funk and electronica stuff. Oh my God, there were so many good artists there. Moon Hooch, I don't know if you ever heard them. It's like 2 saxophone guys and a drummer. Unbelievable, ridiculously unbelievable. Yeah, Moon Hooch, dig them up, check it out. Amazing show. And of course, 5 Alarm Funk, they played there that weekend, and they were just deadly. I mean, they always are. I saw them at Folly Fest twice or 3 times now, and then saw them at Harvest a couple of times. They were killer. Anyway, and Stephen Lewis himself, his big band of fun, just insane.
Did you get to go to the last Harvest with Jason Isbell and
did not.
No, okay.
No,
Yeah, me either.
I missed that one. It's the COVID thing, right? I was, I not that I'm fearful, but also just it was so limited access for tickets and whatever else. I was just like, I'm not going to fight to get through this right now. It's just not, not something I'm into at this point in time.
Yeah, exactly.
I want it to come back, and I'm ready for it to come back. But at the same time, I'm not ignorant to the fact that what's going on and how dangerous it can be.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and same here. We're in the spot, like, we can wait, we can hold off. What's the rush? Because even if we get out, then it's just going to, basically get the rug pulled out from under us again, and then we have to wait again. So any momentum is non-existent, really, for getting regular shows.
All right. So I know what you use for sticks, and I know what you use for cymbals. What do you got for a kit, buddy? What are you rocking for shells?
Yamaha.
Oh, sweet. Stage Customs?
Stage Customs, yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
They're beautiful drums.
I mean, the birch drums, especially in the type of music that I'm playing, it kind of cuts a little bit. And I'm using the big, I got the 7-piece kit, but I'm not using any of the rack toms. I've taken the 14-inch floor tom and I put that on the snare mount. So basically I'm using huge. I'm rocking the 14 and the 16. I want to get an 18 and the 22-inch kick, which should be a 24, but I'm okay. And same like cymbal sizes, like the 23 ride. I've got 2 18s, love them to be 20s, and the 14 hats should be 16 hats. Like I'm like the big
You're
sizes.
going to big cymbal guy. Yeah. I like it. I recently went from 14s to 15s on my hats, and I gotta say, I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
I've been a 22-inch ride guy forever and a day, and my crashes are both 18s.
Yeah.
So I'm an 18-inch guy, but I'm also with you. I've heard a few 20s where I was like, oh, I want to go. I want to know.
I want to go there. Yeah. Like when I got that ride cymbal, the sweet ride, I was, there was either the 22 Paragon or the 23 sweet ride were the options that I was looking at. And it was that extra inch. That's what made the decision.
Yeah.
Cause I was looking through at the time, I'm not fully versed on the catalog, but at the time, 22 inches was the biggest ride that was being made. And I technically wanted a 24-inch ride because I'm a big Dave Grohl nerd back when he was with Nirvana, and Adam Willard with Angels and Angels and Airwaves. Yeah. But now with Against Me, like they all use the big rides, and I crash on my ride a lot. So that's where that decision went. So.
Crash riding a 24 would be deafening. Oh my God.
Well, I'm competing with a lot of but with a lot of volume.
Massive amps. Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Actually, you'll love this one. Today we were going through Area 51 at the factory, picking stuff out for a dealer who asked for some very weird stuff. So we were going through like prototypes and whatnot, pulling things out. And I reached up on one of the shelves and pulled down a 9-pound 24-inch power bell ride. It was insane. And I wish I was kidding, but I gave it the big bell strike with the shank of the stick, and I walked around the room, and it was probably 3 minutes, and it was still over there humming away.
I don't doubt it.
Insane. It was absolutely insane. All I could picture was like Vinnie Paul in the middle of like a drum breakdown playing the 16th note with
the butt end of the stick. Yeah.
Oh yeah, just nailing it. I was like, oh my God, that would be so loud.
I don't know how he did it.
monster, just a
Huge
monster,
sticks,
man.
playing them upside down with the butt end. I don't know how his kit survived a song, let alone their full show.
He had to break stuff, a
Yeah.
lot of stuff.
I got to see him play in St. John when I was living there when he was with Damage Plan.
Yeah,
Probably like just a couple months before Dimebag was shot.
yeah.
Yeah, it sucked, man. But I'm at least I got to see them both.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Um,
I have a big love for Vinny, man. Big love for Vinny.
yeah.
And Dimebag for that matter. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were just two of the best dudes ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got some crash questions, is what I call them.
Alrighty, I'm in.
Okay, so some people pass, some people fail. No, there's no wrong answers. But the first one, which is near and dear to my heart, is it cake or pie?
Ooh, cheesecake.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's technically both.
baked authentic cheesecake. Exactly.
You're cheating.
I always do.
Okay, cool. What's your favorite ice cream?
Heavenly Hash.
Hmm,
More
good.
chocolate, please. More chocolate.
Yeah. Cool. On the drum kit, what is the one piece of gear that you wouldn't be able to do without?
Ooh. Pearl 2000 series hi-hat stand with the interlake cam.
Okay.
That I've gone and done house kit after house kit after house kit at festivals, and the one thing that I have to take is my hi-hat stand because it has such a unique feel to it.
Really?
I
Okay.
mean, the way I have it configured and the way I want it to click away for me and be able to do, kicks and foot strikes and whatnot. Yeah, so my hat stand, absolutely hi-hat stand. I know it
Okay.
sounds super weird. It's
No, that
nerdy.
that every drummer's got their thing, right? And it's very specific, like especially when you're playing on a house kit, it's not your stuff, and you sit down and you go to start playing, and you've got to really pay attention to what you're doing, at least for the first couple songs, because you're not in your element at all. Like guitar players, they bring their guitar with them. Usually
Yeah.
they bring their amp. As a drummer, you bring your snare and your cymbals and probably your kick pedal.
Yep.
You know?
You can take that list and add throne and hi-hat stand, and that's what I take when I
Yeah, right.
use a house kit, right?
Yeah.
I know it sounds weird, but I've been looked at numerous times for like, okay, here's the house hi-hat stand, shove it aside and put mine in. Like, what
Yep.
the hell? It's the hi-hat stand. It's like, man, and I'm guilty of that since I've got into the genre that I'm playing now, or play majoritarily,
Mhm.
is the continually counting away with my foot, right?
Yeah, like that left foot is so important.
Backfilling it and having that confidence that is what I'm used to it being, because
Yeah.
I've played a couple laggy stands that the spring doesn't work quite right. No, not my game. So yeah, hi-hat stand.
Hi-hat stand. Okay. So if you're playing into a groove, is it a hi-hat or a ride? Like, what's your favorite groove when you're laying into it?
Oh, see, I have 6 degrees of dynamics that I lean on. I'm gonna get really weird here. So you got closed hi-hat cross stick on the snare so that you get that chalky, really low dynamic level. And then you got move to the snare full on, but you're still playing the hat closed, and then slightly open hat, then full open hat. And then you move to the ride, but you're playing with the tip, and then you move to the bell with the shank of the stick. And then if you really want to push it, then you start crashing on a crash. But if I was to pick any one that is where home is for me, it's got to be playing a combination of stick on the bow and bell strikes on the ride. That's where I really feel home. That's
Right.
that's my groove spot for sure.
With that left foot going on.
With the left foot backing it up. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, so
I can hear it. That's a good sound.
yeah.
You've painted a picture.
You get the chick and you get the tip and then you get the
Yeah.
bang of the bell. Oh yeah, all of it singing together. Yeah.
So what are you listening to right now? Like what's on your quick playlist?
Well, so I listen to a lot of Wolfpack, Corey Wong, Fearful Flyers, or Fearless Flyers. Yes. Anyway, it's the other band that's on the Wolf label. Mark Lettery from Snarky Puppy. The new Carnival song that came out Friday. Good stuff. There was a new Seven Dust track that dropped Friday. I'm really into that. I'm trying to think what else was on the playlist this week. A little John Mayer, obviously, that's in there. Yeah, that probably covered off the majority of what it's been lately without having to open up Spotify and actually read everything. But
Yeah.
so it's kind of all over the map. A lot of funky, a lot of jazzy, and then some metal, I guess, is where I would kind of land, because metal still has the groove, man. It's still there. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Just because I don't play it out in public doesn't mean I don't love it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a reason for all the different genres, and a lot of people, how would I say that?
They tunnel themselves into a specific spot and
Yeah,
ignore everything.
exactly.
I mean, I won't even say secretly, I'm a big fan of 80s music too. I love all 80s pop music, like Huey Lewis and Madonna and whatever else, as much as I like all the modern cool stuff that I hear as well.
Well, I think the music.
Olivia Rodrigo is another one on my playlist right now. Killer.
Okay.
I'm really digging that album. I really am.
Yeah.
The stuff that's released on the radio is not very revealing about what that album's actually like. So I'm really digging that album. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I think, like, just going back to the 80s, like back then, like they were all players. Like, you look at the list of credits and they were all players. Like,
absolutely.
And there's a thing about musicians playing music, and that was sort of, I guess, the epitome of when that was a thing. Like, not much studio trickery. Everything was to tape. You had to play your take and you had to play it right.
Pre-auto tune.
Yeah.
Pre beat correction, pre sample replacements. And that's one thing too. I mean, I get why people do that, because they want to have a specific sound, and to achieve that sound can be either time or financially restricted. But I so much despise hearing the same kick and snare sample on every goddamn recording. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Glenn Fricker, but he sings my praises go to him on stating that routinely, that it's overused. It's just like Slate digital drums are everywhere and you can't escape them. And I mean, it sounds good once or twice, but when you hear it 3,000 albums in a row, it's like, please stop. I just want to hear a real snare drum with some sympathetic buzz, and maybe one lug's detuned and it doesn't sound absolutely perfect. So what? Let's listen to a guy play from his heart. Like, anyway, yeah.
Yes, it's a YouTube channel that I watch quite a lot, is Rick Beato. I don't know if you've ever checked him out.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he tells it like it is, and man, his stuff is really good.
I loved his the one he did on the Zeppelin drum tone stuff. It's been a year or so.
It's been a few
ago.
Yeah.
But that was a killer video, and they got really close. Really close. I mean, no lack of gear and work and studying to get there, but it was awesome. Yeah, Rick's a great resource. His the Beato book. I don't know what the current code is, but if you know it, go get it. I have a copy of the Beato book in PDF, and I'm telling you, and after taking the theory lessons I did back here 3 or 4 years ago, that is invaluable. And you can stop all the arguments in the jam room almost instantly by quoting the Beato book.
I'll need to get a copy of that.
It can stop a lot of those. No, you're playing it wrong. Well, no, you're playing it wrong. And then, well, what key are we in? And they state a key, and then you're like, well, you're wrong because that note's not in that key.
Wow.
Unless you're attempting to do a key modulation mid-song, and then that's a whole other ball of wax. We want to get into that. But anyway, I'm really nerdy. I'm sorry. I'm a music nerd in every aspect. I go down the rabbit hole pretty hard sometimes.
It's awesome. Wear it on your sleeve.
Right on, man. Right on, man.
Well, this has been a lot of fun.
Look, Trey, thank you very much, man. I can't thank you enough. It's really cool for you to do this, and I hope the podcast and videocast channel, whatever you're delivering this on YouTube, right?
YouTube and Spotify.
Right on. So I hope it takes off like gangbusters and becomes a big thing for you, man. I really do.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
You got my support 100%.
Right on. Okay. What a cool guy. What an honor. Thank you, Randy, for being on the podcast. I really, really do appreciate it. I can't wait to be able to go down and visit you and the rest of the crew down at the Sabian factory. Hopefully the tours will be a thing again, if all things go well. But yeah, man, thanks so much. Love the Stinkin' Rich album, and I'm going to link that stuff in the description and a video link somewhere on the screen. Do check them out. They're an awesome band. And his playing is phenomenal. As far as housekeeping goes, I got a couple other projects in the works. Very excited about it. Can't say too much about them at this point, but just letting you guys know that there's some more stuff coming, and I just can't wait to get the ball rolling on that stuff. The holidays are coming up. This would be the last episode before Christmas and New Year's. So wishing you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and hope you're all finding yourselves with the ones that are closest to you. And I wish nothing but health and happiness to everyone, and that 2022 hopefully is going to be a better year for everybody. Mental health, and you know, if you need help, if you need anything, there are resources available. You're not alone. So with that in mind, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as Ringo would say, peace and love. All right, bye.